To teach the JavaScript or to learn the JavaScript, I'll be using this website, which is called javascript.info. So in this, we have the latest version of JavaScript as well as like the old version of JavaScript. So in service now, we use ES5. Okay. So we will be having the versions like ECMA, we call it as ECMA. This organization handles what are the functions to include or the what are all the new things which we can add in JavaScript. Okay, so it has some different names like ECMA 262, ECMA 252, like that. But whatever we follow in service now, it is, we call it as ECMA 5, ES5. Uh, okay, and the newer things are ES6 and all. Okay, so so I'll tell you a bit about like what is the JavaScript, how it came and all, and then we can go into JavaScript fundamentals. Okay, so initially JavaScript has been created to make the web pages alive. That means, like, for example, it's a static page, right? Okay, so it is a button, right? So on click of button, it's like toggling. That means we are able to see some content here, and on click of here, it's going to next page. And like on click of anything, something is happening. So behind this, there is some JavaScript on any web page. Okay, so before JavaScript, the web pages are static. We have to just show the information and style the information, but there is no way where we can automate the things, and based on like we were not able to enhance the user experience. So to avoid all those issues, the JavaScript came. So initially, the naming was LiveScript, but as at that time Java was very popular, they have named it as JavaScript. Okay. So if you want detailed information, you can read this, but as it is not very much important, but it's good to know. That's why I'm just briefly explaining about it. Okay. So we have engines in JavaScript. So JavaScript is like, it's not like something like a program, but it's a script where it will be reading like any JavaScript engine. Like for this, you don't need a separate compiler. Okay, JavaScript will be directly executing in a browser, because all the web pages at the end has to go in the browser, and that has to view through the browser. So every browser will have some engine, so like what we generally call as compiler. So it has different code names for like different browsers, like Chrome has V8 and Firefox has SpiderMonkey. Each browser has its own name, and there will be few of the differences how they process. Okay. So and JavaScript has been found by Braden each. So he has started, and apart from this, how to use the JavaScript and what are all the things we have. So for that, he even founded the Mozilla as well. So what we call it as MDN, right? So for example, if I type MDN JavaScript, so all the documentation, official documentation, if you want to see, you should go into this developer.mozilla.org, where you can see the complete information regarding HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay. So if you want to know about any function, for example, I want to know like arrays, okay, then I'll type array and I will know each and everything about array from the scratch. What are the functions available and how to use it. All those you don't have to go anywhere. You have to come to this website and you can search anything and you can learn about those.
Sunil,
Yeah.
sorry to disturb. If you have any documents, can you share, because we are not showing any screen.
Oh, actually, yeah, I forgot to share.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry for
Yeah.
that. Yes. Thanks for reminding. I was, yeah, now can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the website where you can like it is the official documentation for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and a few of the web APIs as well, where you can like if you want to search about or learn about anything, and like you can refer this website. Okay. For example, I want to know about array, then I can learn, and I can even there will be examples for each of those as well. Okay. So you you can believe this website, and any experienced developer or any known developer will check in this itself. What are the functions available and what we can use in this. So this is the official documentation for the JavaScript. We call it as MDN. If you search with MDN JavaScript, then you will get here MD1 JavaScript array or something, and you can directly check that documentation. Am I audible?
Yes.
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 There was some interruption. You can visit this documentation, as this is official documentation. And next, so as I said, is the ECMA is the organization which will take care of what to include in next versions of JavaScript. It is a committee. So generally, ECMA full form is European Computer Manufacturers Association. So where they will be like discussing what to include and what not to include in the next versions of JavaScript. That will be handled by ECMA. Okay. So for the references, as I said, MDN, Mozilla, that you can check if any of the issues or any of the if you want to check about anything, then you can type and check. So you can use MDN term, and then you can, for example, parse into the function. You can know about that. For example, MDN parse. So directly you will be redirecting to that particular function. Okay. So code editors are nothing but like where we write the code. So generally for JavaScript, we will be using Visual Studio. Like I use Visual Studio, but we can use any of the like even we can write the code in directly in the notepad as well. But if we have these things, then Visual Studio or any of the Atom or Sublime Text or Notepad++, it will be suggesting you few errors if there are any, and if you want to prettify the existing code, in those cases, these will be very helpful. The IDEs, okay. So the developer console is, for example, in any of the browsers, we will be having the developer console. You can just type F12, or what you can do, I'll open this. So here I can click on inspect, right click and inspect, and here we can check in the console. So if any web pages has any errors, you can look here. Okay, la is not defined. So they have written some script, and this is not defined. Okay, so we need to fix those in that particular script file. So bug.html, so that our web pages runs correctly. Okay, so this is so generally, if there are any small script, you can directly write here and check. For example, there is what I want to print something. Okay, I want to alert something. So I don't need, like, I got an alert saying hi, right? So I don't need to open a notepad and write there and check here. We can directly write in the console. For example, I define a variable, and I want to do something like any small scripts if you have, and if you want to check. For example, it is a string, and I want to do some mathematical operation, or I want to convert this to integer. We'll be using parsing. Print b. So like any of the small script, if you want to check or if you want to write, then you can use this console. And in real time, if there are any, if you are facing any issues with any of the web page or any of the code, you can directly come to console and check what might be the error. Okay, so all the errors in the particular page will be stored here if those are not properly handled. Okay, any doubts still here?
No.
So how to use this particular console, and what are all the things you can do? Like here, in if you open any Chrome, like there will be tutorials. You can go through those, like to use this extensive. Okay. What is new in this developer console? All those you can check here. So whenever we write the code here, I wrote some a equals to 2 or 3, right? If I just enter, the code will be executed, right? Like for example, what I'll use console.log. So console.log is used to print the print whatever it is there. For example, JavaScript. So if I click on enter, even you can check in your own code editors if you are using the laptop. If I just enter the code, whichever we have written, all the code will be executed. But in these editors, if you want to write one more line of code, you have to click shift and enter. Okay, if you use shift enter, it will be going to the next line. Like if you want to define, or if you want to write the code more lines, then you can write shift enter. And if you just click on enter, the code whichever we have written, entire code will be executed. If we like whenever if you want to write new lines, then you can write shift enter. Okay. So there will be different settings for each of the browser, but I use Chrome only, so I know like we use enter to execute and shift enter to like multiple lines of code if you want to write. So there will be other shortcuts for Firefox, Edge, Safari. Okay. So this is regarding the web pages. We don't need it as of now, but I'll just tell you. Okay, so in any of the HTML page, we will be having the HTML tag. Okay, and there will be header tag as well, but and there will be body part. So body part, whichever whatever the things we write in body part, that will be shown to us. So it is a p tag, so that it is a paragraph. So if we, so whatever the JavaScript we want to execute, that will be in this script tags. Okay, so if I write script and alert, as soon as this web page gets loaded, I'll be getting alert saying hello world. Okay, like if I want to happen this only in particular cases, what I'll do is I'll write a function and I'll be triggering those only when some event gets happened. That means if there is a button and on click of that button, if you want alert, then I'll be executing that. Okay, so this is related to web pages that we might not need it as of now, but I'm just explaining as we encountered here. So here this script we have written inside this HTML only, but if we can even write an entire script file as differently, and we can give that source of that script file, the path of that script file, like where it is exactly, so that that particular entire script will be loaded. So as of now, we don't need this, but as we encountered here, I'm just telling. Okay, we'll go to the next. So whenever we write any code, like some structure is very important. Like what I mean is, what we call it as statement. Okay. So for example, we have written alert hello, and I didn't wrote like in the same line I have written this alert world as well, but it's not looking good, right? So we should write each of the statements. Statement means anything with semicolon which comes, that should be a statement. Okay, so here I written as alert hello and alert world. So like some people tend to write like this, but it's not readable. So here it's readable, right? So both will give the same result here. Like here first hello came and then world came. Here also it will be resulting the same hello and then world. But whichever the code we write, so that should be readable. So then only for the other developers, whoever read the code, like you might work for this company for 1 year or 6 months or 2 years, but later some other developers will come and has to read that code. So it should be any code, it should be readable. So readable means if we write in like multiple like for this case, you can write as there is a semicolon, you can write in the next line. Okay, so in JavaScript each statement ends with a semicolon, right? But that not it's not mandatory to end with semicolons, but it's really good if you write the semicolon, and it's a best practice to write the semicolon. So even here there is no semicolon, but still JavaScript understand that there is a new line, so that it will work. Still it works, but it's optional to have the semicolon in JavaScript. Okay. So still it will be giving the same result, but it's recommended to use semicolon. And even in ServiceNow, it throws a warning beside that code editor saying, uh, please have the semicolon, right? So like in some cases, you might face issues. Yeah, others, can you please go on mute? Chandan is not listening. He just joined. Okay, give me 1 minute. So is there any disturbance from my side? Hello?
No, not from your side.
Okay.
Yes, it's not from your side. I think Chandan is on mute.
Yeah, so semicolons is not mandatory, but it's very important. Like it's good practice and best practice to include the semicolons whenever you write the code. Okay. For example, all this is a one single statement because it's ending with semicolon. Okay. Still it is working, but you shouldn't write like this because it's a single statement. You should write in a single line, and there will be some cases where you fail to execute those as well if you don't write it properly. For example, here alert hello is a different statement, and here it is an array where they are trying to alert 1 and 2, right? So first they are alerting, like alert means there will be a box coming where there will be printing hello, and it is an array where they are trying to print this 1 and 2 in this alert. Okay. So here hello came, and then 1 and then 2. Okay. Like here we missed semicolon, right? We'll check if this works or not. So we got hello. Then we got this type error, can't read the properties of undefined. Why this came? Because of this, we didn't include the semicolon. Okay. So here we didn't include the semicolon. That's why this particular for each is trying to get something from this particular alert, and then we are getting this error. So if you exactly read it, type error, can't read the properties of undefined. It's saying. So what is happening here? So alert returns undefined here. So and for undefined, we are trying to do something here, doing for each, because it's assuming it as the single statement. If you include semicolon here, then it won't be a problem. So it's always a best practice to include a semicolon after each of the statement. Like it is trying to read this way. Even if there is a next, even if you write in the next line, it is trying to read in this way. Okay. So it's always better to put the semicolon. Okay. And there will be comments as well where we have to describe about any function if we are writing. So that even for us in the in the future, for example, after 2 months, if you have to revisit that, you might not remember for what purpose you have written that code. So always try to use the comments for any of the functions which you have written or any of the code which you have written. So it's always a best practice so that it will be very easier in the future. So you write the comments as well. So to write the comments, we use slashes for the single line comments. Like if you know about any of the C or Java, they also use the same kind of syntax in order to write the comment. So whenever the compiler tries to read the code, like this, whatever it is in the double slashes or in the comments, it will ignore it. So it is just for the purpose of ours whenever we read the code. Okay. So the compiler doesn't execute these comments. It's just for us to know in the future for what we have written the code. And the comment should be appropriate, so that should have the meaning. For example, it's alert hello, and it shouldn't say that below line will be alerting hello, because from this alert itself we can know what it is doing. But in the for example, if you might have gotten a requirement saying that some business requirement, what you have to do, like you have to deliver or you have to call a REST API. What is the exact reason behind that, and from where we are calling this script? All those details you can mention in the comments so that it will be useful in the future. And if there are for the normal calculations, you don't have to write the comments directly, below line or below function does this. But if it is a complex code which you have written and might trouble reading again, then you can write what that code does exactly, so that in the future it will be easier for you and other developers. If it is a simple statement, then you don't have to tell what it is doing. But if it is a complex one, or if it is a business requirement, then you can write in the comments. So the slash is a single line comment, but slash star, if it's a multi-line comments, you have to describe about the business requirement, why you are writing that particular function. Then we can use multi-line comments. So to write the multi-line comments, you have to start with slash star and end with star slash, so that whatever in between these two lines, it will be just ignored, and you can write anything in between these lines. Okay. So as these are just descriptive, I'm not showing you by writing the code. But in future, for arrays and objects and dealing with numbers, at that time I'll be directly showing those. Okay. For these, it's easy, right? We don't there is no much of here we are not doing much of things, but the importance of these I'm just letting you know. For example, there is a comment. I can say a equals to 3 here. Okay. Okay. And then what for example, where C equals to 3 and C equals to C plus 2. So I got an error saying C is not defined, because whatever the first line I have written in the code, that doesn't read, compiler doesn't read this because it's in a comments, right? So whatever in the comment, so that is just for our purpose. So here we are getting an error saying that C is not defined. Okay. So it should say it should just describe what this way it will be working. So comments are just for our purpose. And these are multi-line comments, starts with star slash and star, like slash star and ending with star. Okay. I want to comment, like for example, this code is not working, but I need it for my future references. And what I'll do, I'll just comment using / and end with, even color changes. You can just see the color is getting green. Okay. So everything is commented, so no output will be there. Okay. So this strict is not needed. In service now, this strict is not allowed. So if you need anything regarding that, you can just read it. I'll just skip it for now. Okay. So like to define any of the variables, we use var, right? So var means a variable. Okay. So variable is used to store any data, right? So for example, let message or var message. Here I'm just naming which holds, for example, let message is there, message contains this hello. Okay. So we do, like message can contain anything, like message, for example, user given input. So we are just holding that particular input in this particular variable. Okay. So what is the definition of variable is like, it's a named storage. We are storing something in that particular variable. Okay. So we are like, this is the storage. Like any variable, it's a storage. We are naming we are naming something to it, and we can use that in the later part. So what happens if we don't have variables? For example, I have to, and user has given some input, right? I have to store it in some, user might enter 2 or 3 or 4. I have to store it in something. So that something is, we are storing in that particular variable. So for example, var input. I don't know what input user will be given. So that input, whichever it is there, I am storing in this particular variable called input, right? So for example, for this time variable, this input might be 2, and I'm just multiplying this input with some 3. Okay. So for this time, input is 2, and it's giving the result as sorry, here capital. So for this time input is 2, but in the later parts it might be anything. Okay. So I'm just multiplying it with 3. So the importance of variable is everything, like everywhere we'll be using this variable. So in order to name what it's containing, right? So next time the input might come as 5. So we have to name and we have to store in some variable so that we can use in our later parts of code. So everyone got like why we use variables, right? So
Yes.
Yes.
yeah. So to declare a variable, we can declare saying var message like this, or in the single line also we can use like this, like var user equals to something and his age is 25 and his message is hello, or it can be like this as well. So the recommended way is to write the variable like this because it's more readable. So even we can write like this, but it's not a recommended way to uh, name multiple variables in a single line. So the recommended way to name the variables are in the multi line. Okay, if there are multiple variables, where name goes. So like this also we can name the variables. Like if I want to print I'll get the results properly, but it's not a recommended way because this way it will be more readable. Always try to use multi-line whenever we write variables. Okay, so we can define each variable in each line. Okay, some people use like this, but the preferred way is to name the variables like this. So like in service now we use only var. The let is the ES6 way of the naming the things. There are some differences between var and let that we can discuss, but as of now we don't need it. Okay, let is something which has within that scope, and if you use let, it will be in that particular scope itself, but where it will be in the global scope. As of now we don't need discussion because for service now we don't need it, but if we need it, like if you want to know regarding that after completing the service now fundamentals, then we can come back and learn what are the things in ES6 and all. Okay, so for example, have I have named my name as Sunil. Okay, as of now, so as of now, the name contains Sunil. Okay, in the later stages, the name can be anything. Like I can reassign, right? So the final output is Anil because I have reassigned it to something. Okay. So initially the name contains Sunil, but later I assigned name to Anil. So we can modify the existing variables and we can do something with it. So like what I'm trying to say here is initially the name is something and later I assigned Anil to it so that the output came as Anil, right? So now here the type is string, like whatever it is in double quotes or single quotes, that means it's a string in javascript. But even we can assign digits or any objects or arrays to it in in javascript because it doesn't hold, or we are not specifying any type of the variable, we are just saying var. Okay, we are just saying where, and javascript has the compatibility to hold or replace any kind of variable. So I can even give name as 2 so that name contains 2. So the name containing two, because I have reassigned this name to just because the JavaScript is dynamically typed. We call this property of JavaScript as dynamically typed because it can hold any type of data. It and we can even change the type of data in the runtime. The runtime means whenever we are executing, initially we have defined the name as something, and in the later point of time, we are assigning some other type of data. That's why we call this as a dynamically typed. So this property of JavaScript, we call it as dynamically typed. So initially the message is containing hello, and later we have changed the value. So initially it was hello, and then the value is world. So it just replacing. So this is just replacing the value. Okay. So at the end, the value whichever in the message will be the recent executed value of this message is world. So it contains world as a value because the code will run from the top to bottom. Any doubts till here?
No.
No.
So in order to copy any strings or numbers, we can directly use in JavaScript, we can directly use one more variable. For example, hello contains hello world, and message we have just declared. So what I can do, message equals to hello. So that means it's assignment operator, equal to is assignment operator. So whatever we have given at the right side, it will be assigning to this message, which is on the left side. So in the hello, we have hello world. So at first right side thing will be executed. So hello is returns you this particular hello world. So and this message stores this hello world. So in this way, this copies whatever the value in hello to this message. So now these both variables are different and containing this particular value. So as these are strings here, whatever the value in this hello, it copies to this message variable, right? So in the same program, we shouldn't use same variables again and again. So in ServiceNow, it doesn't affect because we are using the old ECMAScript. But in real time or in the latest code versions, if you declare the same variable again, it throws an error. If you use let, for var it doesn't do anything, but if you use let, it throws an error saying it's already declared. And whenever we name any variable, it's important that it should say what it's containing. Okay. For example, I can say I have written a function. Let's say I'm naming as of now function name as fun. Just I don't know what this function will do. I'm just declaring. Okay. And first parameter is name. And second parameter is age. Okay. And what I'm saying, alerting. Welcome. saying hi followed by space, and I'm trying to like dynamically name can be anything and it's being passed from somewhere else. Okay, what I'm trying to do here, I'm saying just hi. For example, name is Sunil. Hi Sunil. Welcome to JavaScript course. Okay, and to call this function, what I'll do, I am just passing the first parameter and second parameter. So if I click on enter, this function will get executed. Okay, so it's saying hi Sunil, welcome to JavaScript course. For example, instead of declaring this particular variable names like differently, for example, I can say A, or like generally people will do A or B, or some random values like X or Z or something like that. Like instead of A, I can write even like B, right? So in these cases, as these names doesn't tell me what it's doing, so I can, like, there is a possibility and there will be confusion. Like if for small codes, it won't be a problem, but if there are any bigger codes, it will be confusing what that variable is containing. For example, instead of A, I have written B. In this case, I don't know what is A and what is B. So here it will be a, not good practice or not good thing, because I don't know what is A and what is B, right? So it is always a best practice to name the variables properly so that we know what it's containing. Like I know this contains name, so that I can give the name here. Okay, so this is in the function, but even for the normal variables like var username and var test123. Okay, so always the name should, whatever the variable name, it should have some meaning to it. Okay, so not even I should not even write fun here. It should say greeting. Greet. Okay, greet user. I should call saying greet user. Okay. Now it's printing properly because I have replaced it with name. So the variable name in JavaScript is always should start with the lower cases name. Okay, and it is case sensitive. The JavaScript variable names and all those are case sensitive. That means you, like for example, var a equals to 3, and you shouldn't expect same thing to happen if you log with capital A, because capital A variable is different and small a is different. Okay, if you write something with small a, like whatever the name, the exact name you should write here in order to print that value. Okay, it is case sensitive, and it's good practice to start with small cases, username, test123. So it is valid naming cases. So valid naming cases means the name should contain only letters, digits, symbols. Give me 1 minute. I'll just drink water and come. Okay, give me 2 minutes. Yeah. So like the valid naming cases, this naming should contain letters, digits, or symbols, and it should not like the first letter in this variable should not be a number. Okay. Like it should not be like where 2a equals to uh, it is not a valid name. Okay, invalid or unexpected token. So it can be like A1 or A2, but it can't be like 1A, 1, 2. Okay. So the first letter should not be a digit, and it can contain letters or digits and symbols or underscore. And for the these names, you shouldn't use reserved words. Reserved words means, for example, var has some meaning in JavaScript, right? That means it's used to define a variable. Function has some meaning that it expects some function name and function definition. So I can't use the variable name as a var again in order to store that. I can't have the variable name as same as a keyword. So unexpected token var, because it has it is a reserved var, and after var it expects a variable name. So for each of the reserved variable, it has some meaning and it expects something. For though let's for that's why we shouldn't use reserved words for the name variable namings. So you can see the list of the reserved words and what that means in the MDN. You can have like break has some meaning, case has some meaning. So all these are reserved keywords inside JavaScript. So you shouldn't use those as the names. Any of the function names or variable names, you shouldn't that use for variable names. So constant is also not supported in ServiceNow, but generally constant we use in order to store some constant variables. Constant means in the future in any of like in the programming language, like in any of the program which we have written, that value will not change in the future. That is the constant. For example, constant can be, for example, let's say pi value. Okay, constant pi. So I know what is the pi value. It is 7.13 or something, or 22/3. So pi value is 7.333. It is fixed value. So it doesn't change in the future or any of the program. So I can declare it pi as a constant. I can, and wherever I want to use this, I can just use this particular constant, right? So the same way, you can declare a constant any of the JavaScript, but it's not supported in ServiceNow. Instead of using like this in service now, what you can do for constant, you can use this all caps. Okay, for example, there is a complex table name which you might not remember and which has to use at multiple places in particular scripting load or somewhere, then you can use this capital cases, entire caps, and underscore color underscore green. So green color is always have the same hexa code for CSS. So I can store it as a constant with the all caps. So this is the convention we use in order to store the constant. We can in service now we can just use var with the capital name in order to store the static values or the constant values which won't change, right? So as I already told you, name things right. That means it should describe what it contains. It shouldn't be like A, B, C or something like data or value. It should exactly tell you what it contains. Okay. So it's already 9. Do you guys want me to continue or it's enough for today?